Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I don't have anyone logged online or on live with me with Zoom, but that means you're probably doing this via YouTube. So welcome to Project SOAR's playlist onto YouTube. If you don't know me, my name is Aron. I am the Project SOAR coordinator. We are going to do a full body adaptive workout today as usual, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. Usually what I do is I do the workout standing and laying down and moving around, and then I will verbally give options to do the workout from a seated position. Today I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to do the whole workout seated, but I will give you the options that you could do if you wanted to stand or if you wanted to lie down on your mat for different exercises, so that you can adapt this to work for you. So if you're somebody who is going to work out seated with me today, you can follow my lead. Otherwise, just listen to the different options I have. Or if there's something you know works better for you, again, you can adapt this in any way that works best for you. I just wanted to show visually what it would look like to do a seated workout for anyone that needs to do that as part of their workout plan. So let's go ahead and get started. We are going to do a warm-up and then some dynamic stretching. We will do a HIIT style workout, very similar to what we've done the last couple of weeks. So we'll do 3 rounds of the same 8 exercises. Each time we do an exercise, we will work out for 50 seconds and then have 10 seconds to transition to the next exercise. And like I said, there'll be 8 of those exercises. We'll do those 3 times. There'll be about a minute to rest in between each of those rounds. And then we'll do a cool down. We'll work to stretch a little bit. And again, I'm going to do all of that seated. Feel free to either follow me or do some of these exercises standing or lying down, or you can kind of pick and choose. You can do some things seated with me and other things standing. So this is really your workout. I hope that you can feel comfortable adapting and modifying so that it works for you. And again, we are coming up on the ski trip, and many of you that are working out with me are getting ready for that ski trip. And as always, I'm thinking about like how we can make our bodies as functional as they can be for any of the cool trips and excursions we have coming up. So this one is kind of covering things that can help us when we're skiing, and also things for climbing, because that's coming up in a couple weeks. And then we have even more fun things coming up later this year. So I'm glad you could join me. I hope that this helps you get fit for any of the fun things that you have planned and just your life in general. Let's go ahead and get started. If you haven't had the opportunity to be outside today here in North Carolina on the coast, it is absolutely gorgeous. So I hope you get a chance to go outside and walk or run or bike or something, whatever floats your boat. If you haven't had a chance to do that yet to warm up, we'll do a 2-minute warm up together, and then we'll start those dynamic stretches. I'm going to go ahead and start my fitness watch. Usually what I like to do is a 2-minute warm up in case you haven't already warmed up. Typically what that looks like is we do 30 seconds of jogging, 30 seconds of jumping jack, 30 seconds of like high knees, and 30 seconds of squats just to mix it up. We're going to kind of stick with that, but we're going to, again, show what that would look like in the chair. So I'm going to start out with either marching or jogging seated, and then I'm going to show you what seated jacks look like. And then instead of the high knees, I'm going to do a leg extension with a twist. And although you could do high knees from the chair as well. And then the final thing I'm going to do is sort of a hinge and crunch movement to get the blood pumping. So we're going to do a little bit of core as part of our warm up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Our 30 seconds has begun. So again, you can march this out and do like a high knee or a march, or you can pick up the pace a little, and you can even add a little twist here. So twisting towards that lifted knee and going side to side. The faster you're able to do this, the more you're going to get that blood pumping. Seated, you want to be sort of moved towards the edge of your seat if that's possible, just to give you a little bit of room to move through your legs. And that was 30 seconds. So we're going to move on to those seated jacks. So seated jacks, you can move both feet out and back in. Again, the faster you go, the more you're going to get your blood pumping. You can add your arms at shoulder height, or you can do them overhead. And you could also do one leg at a time. You can alternate, or if there's one leg that's your dominant leg that you're using, you could do that. So that's 30 seconds. Lots of options there. Let's go ahead and do that leg extension and twist. So I'm going to bring my hands to my hips, and actually to the back of my head, and extend my left leg and bring that elbow down towards the knee, and then switch sides. And again, I'm going to kind of speed this up now that I've shown you what that looks like. So we're rotating, we're getting a little bit of a twist here. That was 30 seconds. We're going to move on. And this is just the hinge and cross. So hinging at the hips and crossing, bringing that elbow to the knee. Other side. So side to side. I'm already feeling my heart rate get up. I hope you are too. Again, this warm-up is really just any movement that allows you to get your heart going. We are past that 2-minute mark, so we are warmed up and going to move on to some dynamic stretching. And again, we're going to keep this pretty similar to what we usually do. I'm just going to show you some ways that we can do this from the chair. So typically we do a squat, nice and slow, with our feet narrow, and then hips distance, and then wide. So I'm going to do a heel lift instead, but the same thing. We'll squeeze the thighs together, press down through the balls of the feet. Again, we're kind of scooched out to the end of our chair if that's possible. And then lifting the heels, engaging as much as we can in the calves. And then lower down. Let's do that 5 times. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're just going to change the angle a little bit and take the feet out about hips distance. And let's do that again. Lifting the heels and lowering them. And if you are standing, again, you can do this as a squat. Keep the body upright, draw the navel in. And we're doing that same thing here in the chair. Drawing the navel in, letting the spine be long, rooting down through the sits bones. I think that's 5. Let's take it out wide, either with that squat or with these heel lifts. Last one. Great job. And a lot of times you do a side-to-side walk or side-to-side squat here. I'm going to do a seated cat-cow as an alternative. So my feet are on the ground. If your feet don't touch the ground all the way, you could always use something on the ground to lift them up. I've got some yoga blocks, so that works, or maybe a nice thick book, or just something that allows you to feel that sense that you're rooted down if your feet don't touch the ground. That's one reason I like to scoot out to the end, is so I can get a good connection. If I'm sitting with my back against the chair, my legs aren't long enough. So I'm going to let my hands rest on my knees, and I'm going to arch my back and lift my chest, draw my shoulder blades together, and then exhale, reverse it. Tuck my tailbone, round the back, look at my thighs. And again, you can do that side-to-side squat, or if you wanted to do a cat-cow from your hands and knees or seated, feel free to. Again, this is our opportunity to sort of check in and see how our body feels. Get some of our joints lubricated before we start our workout proper. Let's do one more. Exhale to round, inhale to arch, and then come back to a neutral spine. And I'm going to have us do a little bit of opening in our hips. So usually we do this standing, and I use the chair for balance, so you're welcome to do that. Today, I'm gonna, again, show you what that might look like seated. So I'm going to move to the side of my chair. You see my chair doesn't have arms. That makes this a little easier. So if you have like a stool or a bench or something that you can do this, that makes this a little easier. And I'm gonna hold on to the side just for balance. And my right leg, since I've scooted to the very right of my chair, my right leg, I'm going to let the knee drop down. And then I'm going to make movement through that hip joint. So I'm going to bring the knee up, out, and around. Up, out, and around. So I'm making circles through that hip joint. I can use my hand to help, or I can do that under the power of the muscles surrounding that joint all on its own. Maybe one more in this direction. And then we'll do the same thing, but take it out the other way and come back. So we're just switching the direction of the circle. That was 3. Let's do 2 more. And then typically what we have been doing is doing a kick forward and back with that same side. So that's going to look a little different since I don't have room to have my leg extended since I'm in this chair. So I'm going to keep the knee bent and lift the knee and then tuck it back behind me, forward and back. So now I'm going forward and back through that joint. Let's do one more. And then the next time I bring it forward, I am going to extend that leg. And now I'm going to move a little bit more towards the center so I'm able to get both of my glutes on the mat. And I'm going to go side to side. So out and back in. Out and back in. So again, exploring that same range of motion that we do when we're standing and kicking the leg in front. We're just doing it seated. I think that's 5 times or close enough. Let's switch that to the other side. So I'm going to scoop over to my left. I'm going to bend my left knee so that I have room to rotate. I'm going to hold on to the side here for a little balance. You could also use the back of your chair if that's better. And we're going to lift the knee up, out, and around. So really moving, the movement is coming from that hip joint. So that's where the motion is coming from. Again, you could use your hand for a little support. Feel how you have to pull in on the navel to help stabilize. Let's go the other direction. So we're already getting a little core work here. And a little balance work. This is hard work to stay balanced. Let's do one more. And then we're going to do that forward and back movement. And lift, back, and lift. You can even squeeze through that glute as you come back. You can make these movements bigger or smaller, depending on how stable you feel here. Let's do one more. And then we'll go ahead and extend that leg out. I'm going to come a little more to the middle of my chair so that I can stay stable. Again, you may have to adjust this to work best with whatever kind of chair you're using and with your own body's ability to stay stable. So let's take that out and in. Out and in. You could even slide your foot out and in. If you don't want to have the foot lifted, you could keep it on the ground and slide it back and forth, if that helps with stabilization there. Let's do one more. And come back to center. Let's move on. We're all going to do some shoulder circles and some neck rotations. So this is going to look the same whether you're seated or standing. We'll shrug our shoulders up, draw the shoulder blades together and come down, and then keep making those circles. You can have your hands at your side, or you could have your hands on your shoulders like chicken wings, or you can extend your arms all the way out. Whether you're standing or seated, see if you can draw the navel in, keep your upper body stabilized. We can switch directions. Again, you can do any of those variations with the arms. You can pick your favorite, or you can do kind of a combo like I do. Maybe one more. And then let's concentrate a little bit more on the muscles around our neck and shoulders. See if we can get a little bit of ease there before we start moving. So again, standing or sitting up tall, let's let that right ear just gently fall over to the right shoulder. So we don't have to try to force that. We can just allow that and then notice what we feel on the left side of the neck, down into the shoulder, maybe into the back of the head. You can stay still here, or if you want to, you can twist your chin down to your shoulder or up to the sky. You can do that as a movement like I am, or as you're moving, if you find there's one place where you feel particularly nice opening, you could take a couple breaths and pause there and allow that opening to happen. Let's take one more breath wherever we are. And then come back up to center, and then let the ear fall to the other side. And then the same thing, you can stay still or you can find some movement here. And then let's come back to stillness if we're moving. Bring the head back to center. I want to do one more thing. And again, you can do this standing if you want, or you can follow me seated. We're going to come into a side bend. So let's side bend to our left. And if you're in a chair, you could even grab onto the edge of the seat or the leg. And then let's take the top arm up and bring it behind our head and have the elbow wide. And then what we're going to do is a little rotation here. So we're in a side bend, but then we're going to turn our chest down towards the floor. Feel that rotation. Inhale, come back to center, and maybe even open a little bit more towards the ceiling. And let's do that again. Exhale, twist. Inhale, twist up. Exhale, twist back down. Let's do that 2 more times. Exhale. Inhale. Let's do that once more. Exhale. Inhale. We can release that top arm, come back to center, maybe shake that out. Let's repeat that on the other side. So side bending to the right. And again, you can do this standing as well. It's going to look very similar. See if you can get nice, stable, press through your feet. Hand is behind the head, and then let's exhale, twist our chest down towards the ground. Inhale, open up. One more time. And back up. Release the arms, shake that out. I feel like I am ready to start the workout. If there's any more warming up or stretching that you feel like you need to do before you're ready, go ahead and do that now. You can press pause and then come back when you're ready. I'm going to get us started. I'm going to use my timer here. Again, 50 seconds on, 10 seconds to transition, 8 exercises. We're going to do that 3 times with a minute to rest in between. I'm going to stay seated. We're going to start with knee extensions. If you want to do this workout standing, you could do a alternating forward lunge. So stepping forward into a lunge, stepping back, switching feet, stepping forward with the other foot. That would be a great way to modify this if you wanted to be standing. And then I'll give you some other options as we go through. All right, we will start in 10 seconds. So again, I moved out to the edge of my seat. I'm going to extend one leg and squeeze the top of that thigh, bring it down, squeeze the other leg on the top of the thigh, moving side to side. And we're also lifting a little through that hip joint. Use your hands on the chair bottom if that helps stabilize you. You can also bring your hands to your hips. See if you can root down through your seat and keep your spine nice and long. We're getting a little bit of a core workout here. That stabilization is helping us balance. We've got about 10 more seconds of this. I'm going pretty slow here. If you want to pick up the pace, you're always welcome to do that. I might do that on the later ones. 10 seconds. I'm going to show you what we're doing next. We're going to do a seated flutter kick. So legs will be extended and we'll lift one foot and then the other. If you want more of a challenge, you can lean back and keep your feet lifted. And if you are not working out in the seat and you want to do something different, I would suggest a squat with alternating side leg lifts. That might be a nice way to do this. Or if you wanted to come on your back and do a flutter kick, you could join us in the flutter kicks, just not do it in a chair. Oh, I'm feeling this. So this is working our legs, but it's also working our core. I can definitely feel that. 10 more seconds. All right, 10 seconds. We're going to move on and do a shoulder press. I'm going to use weights. Again, you don't have to. And you can do these standing. And if you feel like you want to add a little bit more leg exercises, if you're standing, then you could even combine this with a squat. So squat down, and then as you press up, thrust into that shoulder press. We're drawing the shoulder blades together no matter which variation we're doing. And even if we're not using weights, we're pretending that we're pushing and lowering something really heavy so that we have that control, still drawing in on the muscles of our abdomen so that we're not overarching the back. 10 seconds. Just a few more. And rest. We're going to move on to an overhead tricep extension. I'm going to use one weight. You don't need to. You could clasp your hands together, keeping the elbows as close to your head as you can. We're going to lower and lift that up. If you're not using a weight, clasp your hands together, or if your hands don't quite meet, you could use a belt or a strap or something there. You could also do this alternating, do one and then the other. So remember, you have options. If you're doing this standing, and again, if you wanted to add a little more leg exercise, you could do a heel raise while you're doing this. I think we did that the other week when we were doing a bunch of combos. 10 seconds. 10 more seconds. All right, we are going to move on, and I'm going to call this a seated push-up extension. You could also do push-ups, or you could treat this like a chest press. But what I'm going to do is keep the elbows close and then push forward, bring my hands out to shoulder height. And then as I pull the arms back, I'm tucking the elbows in and really squeezing the shoulder blades together. So that's really mimicking that push-up movement. If you don't have any weights, or if you don't want to use any, go ahead and extend your arms out as though you're doing a push-up, flexing your hands, really getting that warm sensation in the forearms, and then squeeze those shoulder blades. Again, you could do another variation of a push-up There's lots of different ways to do push-ups, or you could substitute a chest press on the ground or on a bench. All right, we're going to move on to some biceps. We're going to do a curl, lower down, and then flip our hands around and do a hammer curl. We're about to start. That was my demonstration. So again, this can be done seated, and this can be done standing. Either way, let's really work our core and keep our upper body stable. It's almost like we're slightly bringing our lower ribs down towards our hips to find that engagement. Seconds. 10 more seconds of these curls and hammer curls, that combo. All right, we're gonna do a couple rounds of core work. We are gonna do a Mason twist with the pulse. So twist, twist, back to center, twist, twist to the other side. Again, if you want to lay on your back and bend your knees and do exactly the same thing, you're going to come up about part way. So you're going to be leaning back slightly. Or you can do this seated in a chair, just like I am. And trust me, I'm feeling this in my obliques. You still will get a great workout. We're halfway through. You could also bring your hands behind your head if you prefer. You could put a weight in your hand as you do these. I might do that another round. All right, 10 seconds to move on to our very last workout or our very last exercise. So let's do a crunch. And we're starting now. So my demonstration, you'll have to do with me. And then a reverse crunch, bringing the knees to chest and extending them back down. So crunch, reverse crunch. And if you are on the floor, your back can be on the mat. And then you can do the same movement, bringing your chest up towards your legs and then your legs towards your chest. If you're seated in a chair like me, the more you lean back, the more challenging this is going to be. That was our last one. We have 60 seconds of rest before we do all of that again. Now that you've seen it once, I may give a little less instruction so that I can do this workout with you. But if you ever have any questions, if you ever need some different ways to adapt, please reach out to me. Leave me a message in the comment section on YouTube or reach out to me. My phone number is in our description. I would love to make sure that our workouts can work for everybody. So if you're not sure how to adapt something so that it works for you, please reach out to me. All right, we've got about 20 seconds left. Make sure you're getting plenty of water. And then we will start again. Remember, we're going to start with those knee extensions. If you're working out standing, that might be a good time to do a alternating forward lunge. All right, we're going to extend and extend, alternating side to side. Remember, an important part of this workout is that stabilization of the upper body. So try to keep the upper body still and make the movement happening in the legs. And then that way you'll be building core strength at the same time you're using these other joints and muscles in the lower body. Seconds. 10 more seconds. All right, next we're gonna do those seated flutter kicks. I'm gonna move back a little because that helps me get stable. If you're standing, remember you can do like a squat and alternating side leg lift. I'm gonna keep my feet lifted. But again, if you want to have one foot down and then switch, you can do it that way too. We're bringing that lower rib cage towards the hips. That's what helps us engage in the core. So we're getting some work in our legs, but we're also getting a lot of work in that core stabilization, which is going to help us in our everyday movements, but also would help if you decided to go skiing. And if you are someone that would be skiing in a mono ski or a sled ski, trust me, you're going to need that core stabilization. I've been on those, and you really use that core strength a lot. All right, we're gonna move on to that shoulder press. Again, I'm gonna use my weights. If you have an exercise band, you could put it under your seat or under the seat of the chair and then use that for resistance. Put either of each end in your hands. So that's a nice way to use an exercise band to do this as well. If you don't have any exercise bands and you think that that would be helpful for your at-home workouts with me, just let me know. We can get you some. You can speed this up to get the cardio a little higher. If you want your heart rate up, just make sure you're able to keep that good form. You're protecting that low back by keeping your abdominal muscles engaged. But feel free to speed it up if you want to try to get a little more cardio as part of this. All right, next is that tricep overhead extension. Again, I'm going to use a weight. You can even see how I'm using the weight on its side. You could use it that way as well if you do want to use some weight. If you do that, see if you can like push the ends with your hands just to add more resistance. All right, we're halfway through the tricep extension. Seconds. All right, excellent. We're gonna move on to those push-ups. So you can do any variation of push-up you want. I'm gonna show you this seated. We're drawing the navel in. We're pushing through the hands like we're pushing into a push-up, really extending, and then pulling the elbows down towards the waist, squeezing the shoulder blades together, bringing hands back to the chest. That's the movement. This is a great little thing to practice, even if you typically do push-ups on the ground, because this really helps you work on your form so that you are pulling the elbows to your waist instead of having them go out to the sides. And that's going to protect your shoulder as you move in and out of that push-up position. And I'm feeling this in my forearms, which is definitely going to help if I strengthen that for our climbing. All right, next are our curls. I'm going to bring my weights back for this. And we're going to do a regular curl. And then flip the palms in and just change that up to a hammer curl. Again, if you can speed this up, that might get your heart rate a little higher, but you don't need to. You can really make these slow and deliberate if you want to focus more on getting that muscle to squeeze. And remember, it's not just the muscles in our arms that we're working. We're also doing core strengthening here by keeping our body nice and stable, rooted down through our sits bones if we're seated, and also through our feet. And that pressing down in our heels and squeezing our thighs together then that gets us some work in our legs as well. Okay, we're gonna move on to that Mason twist. I'm gonna lean back a little, and this time I'm gonna use a weight. So we're twist, pulse, back to center, twist, pulse. I'm leaning back just a little bit. Again, if you're doing this on the mat, your back would be lifted up, sort of making a C curve towards your thighs, your knees are bent, and your feet can either be on the floor, or for more of a challenge, you could lift your feet up. So it would look like this. Ooh. And see how tough it is to stabilize there.
10 seconds.
All right. Our next exercise is that crunch to knee lift. So crunch and then knee lift. And I'm leaning back a little bit when I do that knee lift. That's going to help me stabilize. I have my hands behind my back. If that doesn't work for you, you can use the edge of the chair and then crunch with your hands there, or your hands on your legs. So feel free to adjust for your needs and your goals. All right, we get that minute to rest, and then we do that one final time. And my heart rate is still lifted, so we're still getting some cardio burn here, and I'm definitely feeling this in my muscles. When we do something different, it gets into those muscles in a little different way, so I'm probably going to be a little sore from this, because this is not how I normally move. So it's always nice to change things up, try different things, just to see where you might have any gaps in your fitness, and then you can figure out what else you need to do to kind of fill in those gaps. All right, in about 15 seconds, we're going to do that a third and final time, and then we get to cool down and stretch, and then we're done for the day. We're going to start with those knee extensions or those alternating front lunges if you prefer. And 3, 2, 1, and go. All right, we're halfway through these, and I am feeling these in my quads and my hip flexors.
Seconds.
All right, got 10 seconds before we move on to those flutter kicks, or if you want to stay on your feet, like I said, a squat with an alternating side lift might be a nice thing to do instead. Oh, I'm feeling this in my core. This is a leg workout, but this one definitely gets into that lower part of the abdomen as well. Ooh, I'm getting smoked. And that was only halfway. Oh my goodness. These are definitely tough.
10 seconds.
10 more seconds. Woo, let's rest. I'm going to show you what that shoulder press will look like using the band. So go ahead and start the shoulder press. Our time has started. I'm taking a little extra since I'm doing something different. It would look like this. See how I went under the chair and then lifting up. So if you have a band and you're working out from a chair, the chair itself can actually help create that resistance with the band.
Seconds.
All right. Next is that overhead tricep extension. I'm going to go back to my weight for this. Let's go. Hugging those elbows in. Try not to let them fly out. And remember, while we're building this tricep strength, we're also improving our core strength. So draw the navel in, feel that engagement in the abdominal muscles. Bring the bottom of the rib cage sort of down towards your hips so that you're not arching the back.
Seconds.
10 more seconds of these. All right. Next, we're going to do those push-ups or push-up extensions. This time I'm going to add weight. Again, another thing you could do is a regular chest fly, which you're pushing out and pulling back. Whatever variation you do, really think about drawing the shoulder blades together as you pull those elbows back towards your ribs and then extend out right at chest height. You're seated and you want a little bit more of a leg workout. Squeeze those thighs together, press your feet into the earth. That's so much to think about. We have all these things happening, and that engagement is what's going to help us build strength. It also gets our heart rate up. All right, let's rest. Last two exercises. Did I miss one? Oh, yeah, I did. We're doing hammer curls and curls. I almost forgot our biceps. Curl, and then switch to hammer curl. Sorry. We don't want to miss out on building strength in the biceps. I was trying to rush ahead to those abdominal exercises. Don't worry, we're still going to do them.
Seconds.
10 more seconds. And then we get that abdominal burn, and then we get to cool down. All right. Next up are those Mason twists with a pulse. So twist, pulse, center, other side, pulse, center. Halfway through with our second to the last exercise.
Seconds.
All right, one more exercise. It's that combo crunch and reverse crunch. crunch, reverse crunch, crunch. You could also, if that reverse crunch doesn't work for you, you could crunch it out and keep it simple and not do that combo. Trust me, you're going to feel that. I'm going to stick with the combo. My abs are already pretty smoked.
10 seconds.
Well done, everyone. Our workout portion is complete. I'm going to stay seated for the cool down and stretch. But again, we're kind of mimicking what we always do. I'm just going to show you how it's done in the chair. So if you want to stick with what you're more familiar with, you're welcome to. I just want to show you what this alternative looks like. So I'll give you about 30 more seconds to get a drink of water, use the restroom. Again, if you're doing this on YouTube, you can take as long as you need to, pause me and come back. All right. If you're ready to cool down and stretch, we can go ahead and do that. We are going to start with that quad stretch. And again, if you want to stand and pull that ankle back towards your seat from a standing position, or if you want to lie on your side, it's the same movement. I'm going to show you this variation in the chair. So just like at the beginning of our workout, I'm going to shift to one side just to give myself that access to that leg. And I'm going to let the knee fall straight down. I'm using my hands on the other side of the chair or the back of the chair to help get stable since I'm sort of hanging off the side here. And I'm already feeling a stretch in the front of that leg, in that hip flexor. So I could stay right here. If I felt like I wanted to go a little deeper, I could reach my hand back to the top of my foot and pull that heel a little closer in. But only if I feel like that's necessary, or if my hand doesn't reach my foot, I could use a belt or a strap and hook it around and then take either end and pull it up a little closer. But like I said, here, I am already feeling that. So that is all that's necessary. If you're feeling something, you don't need to feel more for it to be worthwhile. Maximum effort isn't always the best thing, especially with a stretch, because sometimes what our body does if we start to go too far is it seizes up, which is not what we want to happen. We want those muscles to relax, to let the joints open up. So once you feel that, take a few breaths and let it happen. Your body is going to relax right into that if we're not trying to force it. All right, let's take another breath. And then we can bring that forward. We're going to go right to the other side and do the same thing on this side. So if you didn't get a very good view of that, I just want to show what that looks like. I'm going to tilt my chair. So I'm scooching over to the side. I'm going to get a good hold over here to help me stabilize. And I'm going to shift this leg back. And already here, you see that knee is below my hip. My shoulders are above my hips. So I'm making this nice long line. And that's allowing that hip joint to open. You don't even need to do anything else. Like I said, if you feel like you're just not feeling anything at all, and the only way you're going to get a stretch is to bring that heel in, you're welcome to do. But it's not necessary. I'm going to stay right here and just allow gravity to do that work for me. And take a few breaths. Because I feel like I worked out pretty hard today. So I deserve a little relaxing. Couple more breaths. And then I'm going to come out of this. And then I'm going to turn back to the front again. And a lot of times we come into a lunge and then we do that lunge and then half monkey or half split pose. And we can do that as a hold, or we can do that as a flow. So again, you're welcome to do that if that's your preference. I am going to show another variation. So I'm going to scooch out a little bit here so that I can get steady. And then I'm going to loop my strap underneath my foot and hold on to either end. I'm going to let this leg stay on the ground to help me stay stable. And then I'm going to lift up and extend and bend and pull my knee in a little closer and then extend. So that's how I prefer to do this. If you don't have a strap or you don't like using one, you could use your hands and lift your leg up and extend it. You could do this laying on your back too. Either one of those options you could do laying from your back. If you wanted to get on the mat and do that variation. And if having your leg lifted makes you feel a little too unstable, you can do this as a slide. Slide that foot out, bring the toes back towards you to get a stretch in the calf, and then bend the knee, maybe come up on the toes to increase that fold, and then slide out. So there's lots of ways to do this seated. Let's take that for a few more breaths. And then we'll do it on the other side. Again, I slid forward because that just gives me more ability to move. If you want to have your back against the back of the seat, you're welcome to. That helps you stay stable. And then you can do that same movement from there. Extend, maybe bring it in, and then extend. So finding what allows you to feel a nice cool down here. Helps you stretch out some of those places that we were moving and contracting. Let's do one more. And then I'm gonna kick that off to the side. Now, if you want to sit on the floor and take your legs out wide, you are welcome to do that. I'm going to, again, just show what this looks like seated in a chair. To give myself the room to take my legs out, I'm going to scoot towards the edge. Just make sure you're able to stay steady here. You can keep the knees bent. Another variation is you could let your heels rest and bring your toes up. So it's totally up to you. And even in this position, if you had your knees bent a little, but just not at that 90-degree angle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a fold here. So we're going to turn towards the left and then fold down over that left leg. Again, you could be seated on the mat. You could even be standing up and folding over with your legs wide. We're all getting pretty much the same stretch. It's just a different angle. Don't worry about how far down you can get towards your toes, just as long as you're able to feel a little bit of a stretch here. One more breath. Let's come up and then over to the right. Let's come back up. I'm going to take this right down the middle. For me, this doesn't feel quite right with my legs extended, so I'm going to bend my knees again. So again, make these adjustments so that you can feel stable and safe. And then we're going to hinge through the hips. See if we can keep the back fairly flat. Draw the navel in and fold forward. You can keep your hands on your legs, or you can reach them down towards the ground or your feet. You can even let your head be heavy. Maybe shake head yes, shake head no. Maybe grab the elbows and sway a little. And then whenever you're ready, let's walk ourselves back up nice and tall. We're going to do a figure 4 from here, which again, we do a figure 4 laying on our back all the time. So you can do that variation if you want. I'm going to start with my right ankle over my left thigh. So it looks just like this when I'm seated in a chair. If your ankle doesn't come all the way up that high, see where you can bring it. Maybe cross it over your foot. If you have something like block, you could bring it up to a block or something like that, just to, again, get a little bit of that stretch in the seat. So coming wherever it works best for you. So you can root down through those sits bones, sit up nice and tall. You could even, if you wanted to add a fold here, hinge through the hips and bring the chest over the legs. And if you are doing this figure 4 from your back, then that might look like bringing your hands behind you and bringing your chest towards your legs, or it could be lifting that left foot off the ground and bringing your legs towards your chest. So feel free to play with that, see how it feels. And if you have made that decision to bring legs and chest closer together, let's go ahead and change that angle again. Bring yourself into that 90-degree angle from your thigh to the torso. And then we're going to add a twist. So I'm going to keep my legs crossed as I twist. I'm going to turn towards that bent right knee. Since I'm seated, I can bring my hand to the back of the chair or the bottom of the chair so that I can stay up nice and tall. If you are lying on your back, you could let the legs fall over to the left. So your back stays on the mat, but the legs are what moves and allows that twist to happen. And then let's come back to the middle. And we're going to switch sides. So whatever variation of figure 4 you are in, we're going to do it on the other side. And again, you could choose a different variation on this side. If your body has an imbalance because of an injury or something like that, feel free to do what works best on each side. There's no rule that says you have to do exactly the same thing on both sides. Again, if you've chosen to bring legs and torso close together in whatever variation you're in, let's bring it back to that 90-degree angle so that we can do our twist. So we're twisting to the other side. Let's release, return to center. And before we finish up for today, since we did do those forearm presses or those planks, I feel that in my forearms. So let's just get a little stretch there. Just bring the hands together. Kind of roll it out the other direction. You could even use your hand to do a little stretch, a little compression, and then take that to the other side. And then let that go. You can take a big breath. Well, I don't know about you, but that was a heck of a workout for me. Again, if you have any questions, any concerns, please let me know. Comments on this. And I hope to see you in person soon at one of our events. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you later. Bye.